Naimbag ay Agsapa Cordillera. Today is a very beautiful day for us to know and learn how the government is working together to bring services closer to the people. Welcome to another episode of Kapihan sa Bagong Pilipinas, a program brought to you by the Presidential Communications Office led by Secretary Jay Ruiz and of course the Philippine Information Agency led by our Director General Catherine Chloe de Castro. My name is Clintis Mantotanes from the Philippine Information Agency, Cordillera. While science and technology play a very significant role in our society, most particularly in driving innovation, economic growth, and improving the quality of life of the people. With the Bagong Pilipinas, our nation's campaign, we all hope that with the government's continuous actions to science and technology, this brings us to inspire future generations, fostering creativity and innovation. With that, today we have special guests from the Department of Science and Technology, Cordillera, and they will be sharing the various programs, activities, best practices, and the impacts of the Department of Science and Technology. First, we have, of course, the Regional Director of the DOST Cordillera, Dr. Nancy Bantog. Hi, ma'am. Good morning po.
Good morning, Clint. Good morning to everyone and all the listeners. Welcome to this Bagong Pilipinas Kapihan. And this is our day. It's the nationwide Kapihan for the Department of Science and Technology. Please stay with us and listen to our Kapihan for the Department of Science and Technology.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am Nancy. Of course, we also have our special guest, panelists from the Department of Science and Technology, Cordillera. First here, we also have the Assistant Regional Director for Technical Services. We have Dr. Pita Pikpikan. Hi, ma'am. Good morning po. Ayan. Good morning. Ayan. We also have the Assistant Regional Director for Finance and Administration. We have Ms. Maria Rowena Madarang.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Ayan. Joining the roster of our panelists for today, we also have the Assistant Regional Director for Field Operations. We have Ms. Alicia Balacqua.
Naimbag nga daw kada tayo amin.
Good morning, ma'am. All right. And we also have the OSTCAR Provincial Science and Technology Office Benguet, Ma'am Jesus Patricia Suerte Felipe. Oh, there they are. All right. We also have the Assistant Weather Services Chief or the Chief Meteorological Officer of Pag-asa Baguio Hypnotic Station. We have Engineer Hilario Esperanza.
Isang maaliwalas na umaga po sa ating lahat.
Maaliwalas na umaga din po, sir. Ayan, maaliwalas ang araw natin ngayon. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. It's a very beautiful day talaga for DOST and of course, our viewers para malaman kung ano ang programa ng DOST. Alright. We also have the Cordillera Administration Campus Director of the Philippine Science High School. We have Director Edward Albarasi. Coming. Alright. They also have beneficiaries, of course, ang ating mga students of PITAY. They will also be joining us later po. Ayan. And napaka-supportive po din ng ating mga Provincial Science and Technology Office kasi nandito sila ngayon sa ating kapihan and I believe they will also be sharing their thoughts later. We have the Provincial Science and Technology Director of DOST-CAR PSTO Abra, Engineer Raf Sapiil. Ayan. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Baguio City. All right. We also have the Supervising Science Research Specialist, Mr. Bautista. Hi, sir. All right. We also have the Officer in Charge of DOST-CAR PSTO Ifugao, Engineer Don Ognayon. Hi, sir. Ayan. Nandito din po ang DOST-CAR PSTO Kalinga Provincial S&T Director, Ms. Jasmine Donaal. Good morning, ma'am. All right. And finally, the Provincial S&T Director of DOST-CAR Mountain Province, Engineer Angel Magan. Hello, sir. Welcome. And of course, with the programs and activities of DOST Cordillera, they have beneficiaries and cooperators sila po ang nag-benefit sa mga programs ng DOST. Joining us today are Mr. Kurt Lee Gayaw, the Marketing Officer of IOL Incorporated.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Welcome po. Ayan. Joining also us today is the co-investigator of Stanshare, Mr. Michael James Dios.
Naimbagat bigat tayo amin.
Naimbag na bigat, sir. Welcome po. Ayan. We also have the sweetest. What sweetest? Ayan. Baguio Benguet Dulces Chocolate owner, Miss Eva Richel Padua.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Magandang umaga, ma'am. Ayan. And finally, Ibos Food Products owner, Miss Nieves Bukling.
Magandang morning sa ating lahat.
Ayan. Thank you so much po. Palakpakan po natin lahat ang ating mga supporters, cooperators, beneficiaries for being with us sa kapihan sa Bagong Pilipinas. And with that, hindi na po tayo magpapatumpik pa. Tawagin na po natin ang Regional Director po ng DOST Cordillera, Dr. Nancy Bantog, for the report of DOST Cordillera.
Okay, may I see your smiles? Ba't parang tense tayo? Okay, let's make this kapihan alive. And good morning again to one and all. Allow me to present the highlights of our programs, projects, and activities. Bakit?
Ayan po.
Aha.
Ayan, so napakasipag po ng DOST Cordillera. Nakita ko po beforehand ang kanilang mga report and napakadami ng programs and activities na talaga namang chine-change niya ang status ng buhay ng mga community members natin dito sa Cordillera. And itong kapihan sa Bagong Pilipinas nga po ay nationwide. So sabay-sabay po lahat ng regions, particularly ang DOST, sila po ang special guest natin sa kapihan. And lahat po ng mga DOST regional offices ay nagrepresent ngayon po dito.
Okay, so let's start with my presentation. So, the role of science, technology, and innovation is enshrined in our Constitution, specifically in Section 10, Article 14. And in the Executive Order 128, the DOST is primarily mandated to provide central direction, leadership, and coordination of all scientific, technological, and innovative efforts, and to ensure that the results therefrom are geared and utilized in areas of maximum economic and social benefits for the people. So anchored on the mandate, the DOST's mission is to direct, lead, and coordinate the country's scientific, technological, innovative efforts geared towards maximum economic and social benefits in the region. So we envision ourselves as the leading enabler and provider of science, technology, and innovation, explicit solutions towards national development. And in the DOST's strategic plan framework for 2023 to 2028 for this current administration, there are 4 outcomes with specific strategies in each of the outcomes. These are, number 1, human well-being promoted. Number 2, wealth creation fostered. Number 3, wealth protection reinforced, and 4th is sustainability institutionalized. Okay, so the DOST is composed of 3 sectoral planning councils, 7 R&D institutes, 6 S&T service institutes, and 2 collegial and scientific bodies. There are also 16 regional offices, and today it's 17 with the inclusion of the Negros Island region, and there are 80 provincial offices working hand in hand as one DOST for you. Okay, next slide. With the number of various STI initiatives being implemented in the regions, The operational framework of DOST regional offices for 2023 to 2028 is aligned with the national plans. We are also clustering programs, projects, and activities into SMART, speed, share, and support for a more holistic and focused intervention for greater impact and sustainability. Briefly, the SMART is the smart and sustainable communities. Speed is science, technology, and innovation for promoting equitable economic development. Share is stimulating and harnessing STI capabilities to accelerate research and extension. And the last is support, which is sustaining and upgrading performance and operations in the region. So there are major stakeholders in each of these cluster programs. SMART is for local government units and communities. Speed is for the industries, private sector, and businesses. The share is for the academe, national government, and other institutions in support is for the internal operations. Okay, so aligned with the cross-cutting strategies of the department, the regional offices will prioritize strengthening the STI ecosystem, technology adoption, and science communication. Next slide. So this shows the pillars of our framework, and the presentation that I will do this morning will be following these 4 pillars as to the programs, projects, activities, and accomplishments per pillar. Next slide. Okay, on human well-being, we have here the STI Human Resource Development, and from 22 to 2025, there is a total of 739 qualifiers from the region. Of these, 572 qualified under the undergraduate S&T scholarship, while 167 qualified under the junior level science scholarship. So these scholars are distributed across programs, which are RA 7687, Merit, which is RA 2067, and RA 10612. And why are we doing this? This is focused on producing a highly educated and competent pool of professionals in the fields of science and engineering, bringing about the needed human resources to drive scientific and technological innovations nationwide. Next slide. As of the latest data, the OSTCAR is currently monitoring a total of 1,543 scholars. Notably, 438 of these scholars are homegrown talents from CAR, distributed across the region's 6 provinces and the city of Baguio. Next slide. So in 2023, there are 43 indigenous persons from our region who qualified for the program, which is bringing education in science and technology for indigenous people, or the Best for IP program. This initiative supports top-performing IP examinees, selecting candidates based on their community membership and aptitude in science and technology. So qualifiers came from all 6 provinces of the Cordillera. And these 43 scholars contributed to the total of 216 qualifiers for the 2023 DOST Undergraduate Scholarship Program. So next, still on human well-being, this is the innovation on health system. The RxBox is a biomedical device capable of measuring a patient's temperature, blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, uterine contractions, and electrocardiogram readings. The program has successfully demonstrated supporting frontline workers in the rural areas who can link with specialists in the urban areas, maternal health care services, and modernize the healthcare services in the geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, or GIDAs. So the project was able to deploy 33 units of RxVax to selected health facilities in GIDA areas in our region. Next slide. So this is on STI information, promotion, and advocacy. And in this advocacy, we maximize print, television, radio, press conference, interview, social media, and our online SNT Gazette. It is noteworthy to mention that our media partners, including those who are here today, are instrumental in our pursuit to increase and expand science culture in our region. So thank you very much to our media partners. Next slide. Still on promotion and advocacy, we observe the Regional Science, Technology, and Innovation Week every year, much as our department conduct the National Science, Technology, and Innovation Week every third week of November. And this is our national platform to showcase technologies and innovations, recognize outstanding performance of the STI community. And since 2017, DOSTCAR brought the RSTW in the provinces to bring SNT at the community level. Stalled by the pandemic, we were able to conduct this regional advocacy platform in all the provinces. Thus, for this year, RSTW goes back to Benguet, Baguio. This will be on August 7 to 9, 2025, back-to-back with Handa Pilipinas Luzon leg. Next slide. On Starbucks, this is the Science and Technology Academic and Research-based openly operated kiosks. This is an interactive kiosk system developed by DOST. And this is described as digital library in a box. It hosts media including text, audio, and videos related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it has since then expanded to more subject areas. Its distinct feature is that the system is a standalone information kiosk which does not rely on internet access. Next slide. Okay, let's move on to wealth creation, and this is on the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program, or SETUP. And this program aims to provide the micro, small, and medium enterprises technologies and other technical support for them to be more sustainable, resilient, and innovative, to play not only in the local but also in the global market. So by gender, it's amazing that 56% of the setup-assisted projects since 2002 are females, meaning the proprietor are females, and 44% are males. There were 8 MSMEs who graduated from micro to small, and our data shows that there is an increasing percentage as to employment generation and also increasing trend in productivity due to the interventions that were provided to the MSMEs. As of today, or since the inception of SETUP in 2002, there were 823 SETUP approved projects, and we have won who is attending this kapihan today. Next slide. This iForward, or Innovations for Filipinos Working Distantly from the Philippines, aims to provide opportunities to OFW and their families to establish technology-based enterprises. So for this year, out of 24 individuals who submitted their assessment forms, 14 have completed all the required submissions, and 2 OFWs are targeted to receive assistance upon completion of their capability building activity, which is phase 1. Next slide. Okay, moving on to the Community Empowerment through Science and Technology, or CEST. We have upscaled this to CEST 2.0 to include new areas such as culture and heritage, and also governance. So there are 2 aside from the original 5 entry points. And since CEST was implemented in 2010, all the municipalities and also 2 cities in CAR were covered with at least 1 livelihood project. Okay, next slide. On food safety, we have food safety team, and this is being led by the OST CAR, and it continues to advocate food safety from farm to fork. And the team serves as, the members of the team serve as resource speakers and auditors to the micro, small, and medium enterprises on food. And the assistance that is critical and being provided by the food safety team is the compliance of the food MSMEs to the FDA LTO, or the license to operate, and this is regulated by the Philippine Food and Drug Administration. For the past 3 years, the agency has assisted 32 firms in acquiring their FDA LTO. And we know for a fact that FDA LTO is fundamental in penetrating groceries, supermarkets, other institutional buyers, and is also becoming a critical issue to food safety conscious consumers. Next, on packaging, we have the Packaging Innovation Center. And for the past 3 years, there were 220 label designs provided to 187 firms, 31 label designs printed. The provision of packaging and labeling services to MSMEs is continuing to help improve quality and competitiveness of our local products. So aside from the provision of packaging label designs, we also provide short-run printing services, and we conduct packaging and labeling training and fora. Next slide. Okay, DOST is into supporting the DOST, the halal, and DOST has halal S&T program. And our project, which is development and deployment of halal tourism training module and halal assurance system to secure halal compliance of tourism establishments, was implemented in all the regions. The project conducted trainings and webinars and developed 3 halal training modules, namely halal food preparation, halal food service, and halal assurance system manual for selected tourism establishments. So in the Cordillera region, the HAS manual, or halal assurance system manuals, were developed for 5 establishments. We have already this halal manual developed for 5 MSMEs here in CAR. Okay, so halal assessment was also conducted, and halal assurance system were prepared and customized for other tourism establishments. Okay. So next slide on smart food value chain. This was established during the pandemic and was turned over to the provincial government of Benguet. And this is intended for coming up with semi-processed and processed selected agri-products from sorting until storage and until packaging, ready for dispatch to institutional buyers. Next slide. So on wealth creation, still on wealth creation rather, we have this regional standards in testing laboratory, and there are 3 laboratories in our region. We have the chemical, microbiological, and metrology. And all of these laboratories are compliant, or these were accredited under ISO 17025:2017 and also accredited and certified by DOH, EMB, PRC, PDEA, PNP, the FDA. So generally there's an upward trend in the number of tests, number of samples, number of firms, and number of calibration that are being conducted in the 3 laboratories. And for this year, there are additional tests to be conducted specifically on Listeria. This is on microbiologists, and also for calibration of foot rulers, tape measures, and height boards in our metrology laboratory. Sodium analysis is also an added test for this year. Next. So on sericulture, we continuously support it. We maintain the 18 hybrid lines in our laboratory at La Trinidad. And in partnership with the DOST-PTRI, we were able to establish various hubs, and we are supporting natural fibers in the provinces of Abra, Kalinga, and Apayao, and of course, Benguet for sericulture. Next slide. Okay, this Tech Grow aims to advance market-driven and customer-centered research by commercializing technologies that were developed by DOST or any publicly funded research and innovations. Okay, next. On wealth protection, this is one of the pillars and one of the outcomes which I have mentioned a while back. And DRRCCA is under this wealth protection. DOST-CAR is the vice chair for disaster prevention and mitigation in the Cordillera Regional DRRMC. That's why we invited our kapamilya Pag-asa in this kapihan. The DOST PSTOs are also members in the Provincial DRRM Council, and DRRCCA is mainstreamed in our programs such as the Community Empowerment through Science and Technology and the Smart and Sustainable Communities Program. At present, we are pushing for the adoption and utilization of CLEARS. This is community-led evaluation and assessment of rain-induced landslides, and also the GeoRisk PH platform. We have been conducting trainings, having MOA with the LGUs who will be adapting all of this, and also empowering the Regional Land Use Committee by conducting the GeoRisk PH platform training. Okay, next. On sustainability, we have this latest program, which is Smart and Sustainable Communities Program. This is people-centric and technology-driven, and this is intended really for the local government units to transform them into being smart, resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. So there are actually 10 thematic areas that are being implemented under this Smart and Sustainable Communities Program. We have 8 pilot LGUs across the region. So in Abra, we have Lagayan, Apayao, Santa Marcela. Benguet is La Trinidad, and of course, to include Baguio City. Ifugao is Alfonso Lista. Kalinga is Tabuk City in Mountain Province, Baoco. Next. In this iStart program, this is actually part of the Smart and Sustainable Communities program, and this intends to capacitate the local government units in infusing STI lens in their plans. So there are already 2 provinces, Kalinga and Benguet, who had their provincial STI plan adopted and being implemented by these 2 provinces. Also, we organize the Provincial Science, Technology, and Innovation Committees in the provinces, and they are the ones monitoring and even looking into the implementation of the SSCP project programs and the STI plan. And none other than the provincial governors are spearheading this Provincial Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee. Next slide. So on research, development, and innovation initiatives, we have 3 platforms actually, or strategies. And this is the Regional Research Development and Innovation Committee, a support committee under RDC. We have 3 consortia. The SureDec in charge of industry, energy, and emerging technologies, CRH-RDC on health, and CORCA-ARD for agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources. As shown in this presentation, since 2022, DOSTCAR has endorsed 229 proposals with 27% or 50 proposals approved. And in 2024 alone, 19 proposals have been approved, reflecting a steady increase in submissions over the past years. This upward trend highlights the growing interest and engagement in research and innovation initiatives in our region. Meaning to say that the higher education institutions and the research and development agencies are submitting more proposals and implementing more research development and innovative programs. And at DOSTCAR, we monitor research across the 4 sectors: the agriculture, aquatic and natural resources, industry, energy, health, and basic research. Okay, so out of the initiatives on RDIs, we established various startups. We supported them. We also established various R&D facilities like innovation centers, incubation centers. There are 5 incubation centers, and there are 7 or 8 innovation centers across the region. Okay, next. So I think this ends already. Those are the details of the projects approved and being implemented in the Cordillera. Next slide. Okay, may isa pa. Okay, the technologies. Out of these researchers, we were able to transfer 93 technologies, and this was supported by TechGrow, by the Technotransfer offices of the HEIs, and all our major programs. And there were 101 adopters for the past 3 years. Next. Okay, we also have this repository. This is the R&D Management Information System. This is the search that was approved by RDC as the regional platform in managing R&D information such as researchers, patents, facilities, and all others relating to researches. And on the core innovation, we will be conducting this again this April 10 to 11. This is our third year in conducting core innovation in celebration of the National Innovation Month. Okay. We have the R&D agenda put in place, again approved by the RDC, and this is the platform or the blueprint as our guide in conducting research and development in the region. So these are actually the innovation facilities and the incubation hubs that were established in the region. To name a few sa innovation na yon, we have Metals and Industry Innovation Centers, Packaging Innovation Center, Sericulture Innovation Hub, Natural Fiber for abaca and, not abaca, for banana and pineapple in Apayao, bamboo and in Abra. And for the innovation centers, we have two on agriculture. Those are in BSU and Ifugao State University, while the others on industry, engineering, and emerging technologies are at UP Baguio, University of the Cordilleras in St. Louis University. Okay. So this GRIND project is in support to grassroots innovation. One of the identified challenges in the RDP, that's the Regional Development Plan, is lack of mechanisms to support the grassroots innovation. And this is the answer to that challenge. We have already mainstreamed this in our operations, and we started implementing this for this year. And we are to look into the innovations on the ground and assess whether this will be supported for improvement or ready for adoption by our users. Next. Okay, ongoing is our role at the OST based on Republic Act 9369, right? And our role in this Republic Act is to certify the teachers who will be doing the election come this May midterm election. COMELEC trains the teachers while the OST will do the certification. So as of yesterday, we were able to certify 72.43% of the targeted 4,389 teachers. In other areas, we are also going to train some uniformed personnel. Okay, next. And that's it for the OST card. Thank you very much. And we have the Q&A in a little while for you to clarify all of your queries. Back to you, Clint.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Regional Director Nancy Bantog, the Regional Director of the Department of Science and Technology, Cordillera. Nakita po natin kung gaano comprehensive ang report nila. And of course, with the numbers and the data na na-present po ni RD Bantog, nakita natin kung gaano kasipag ang Department of Science and Technology to bring talaga itong mga programs and services ng gobyerno. And what I love about sa ginagawa ng DOST is no-humanize po yung mga programs. Ayan, it touches all sectors. Meron pa mga students sa mga rural areas. Of course, itong mga geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas and yung mga indigenous peoples, especially dito sa Cordillera kasi everybody's an IP. And of course, meron din para sa mga overseas Filipino workers. So palakpakan po natin ang DOST. Ayan. And before we go sa question and answer portion, we also have reports from Pag-asa Baguio Hypnotic Station. We have Engineer Hilario Esperanza. Siya po ang Chief Meteorological Officer ng Pag-asa Baguio Hypnotic Station. Sir, take it away.
Yes, maraming salamat. Isang maaliwalas po sa inyong lahat, mga kababayan at sa ating nanonood at sa ating mga kasama dito sa venue. Actually, ito po yung climate outlook na nakapaloob dito sa April 2025 up to September 2025. Ito po ay in-update noong March 19. Ano? At ito po yung 182nd Climate Forum. So ito po yung content ng ating ipipresent, yung ENSO update. Ano? Itong ENSO kasi yung El Nino Southern Oscillation na kung saan dito natin na-identify kung tayo po ay nasa La Nina or nasa El Nino phenomena. No? And then the secondly is the climate outlook from April to September 2025, and of course, the summary. Next. So ito po yung ating present condition sa ating ENSO. Kung titingnan po natin, very technical ito sa mga meteorologists or other personnel na nag-aaral with regards to the condition of tropical Pacific. But i-lemonize na lang natin. Next slide. So dito po sa condition dito sa tropical Pacific, mayroon po tayong may mga monitoring stations po tayong tinitingnan. Nandyan po yung Nino 4, nandyan yung Nino 3.4, nandyan yung Nino 3, and then yung Nino 1 to 2. Pero ang pag-asa po ay doon nakatuon, doon sa Nino 3.4. At according doon sa ating data, ang Nino 3.4 daw po ay nasa 0.3 degrees Celsius. Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin nito, itong 0.3 degrees Celsius? Ito po ay nasa gitna o nasa neutral condition po tayo ng El Nino Southern Oscillation. So, ang range kasi, pag sinabi natin kasing neutral, from 0.5 degrees Celsius, positive yun, and to negative 0.5 degrees Celsius. So, nandun po tayo sa neutral. Pag lumagpas po ng negative 0.5, tayo po ay nasa La Nina. Pag lumagpas po, more than 0.5 naman, nasa El Nino naman tayo. So, right now, 0.3 po yung ating data. That's why we are in the neutral condition. Next. So, ito po, makikita natin yung mga graphical representation ng, kung titingnan po natin, tatlong kulay po yung graph natin, blue, gray, and red. So, yung blue po ay represent ng La Nina. And the gray one is the representation ng neutral. And the red one is the representation of El Nino. So, according dito, a transition to ENSO neutral most likely during February, March, April 2025 with a 75% chance. And is favored to persist through the North Hemisphere summer 2025. During October to December 2025, there are equal chance 42% of ENSO neutral and La Nina. So, mayroon parang pong nakikita ang pag-asa na from this moment, going to neutral na tayo or nasa neutral na tayo. But at going to October to December, last quarter ng ating taon na 2025, ay nakikita na tumataas pa rin yung La Nina natin. Andun po yung mga percentage doon sa yung mga ENSO strength. Kung titingnan po natin, pag FMA, February, March, April. MAM, March, April, May. So, nagkukuhan lang siya, representing the months, yung nakalagay dyan. So, andun yung mga strength naman niya, and then the percentage of the strength of the ENSO. So, kung titingnan natin yung graph, yung El Nino, parang maliit yung possibility na tayo may magkakaroon ng El Nino. But yung blue one, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, nakikita natin na puwapantay siya doon sa neutrality ng ating ENSO. Kaya mayroon ting possibility na tayo ay bumalik sa La Nina. Ayon sa ating pag-aaralan or some information with regards to ENSO information. Next. So kaya nga po nagpalabas ang pag-asa, recent observations indicate decaying La Nina conditions with below to near average sea surface temperature anomalies across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific. And most climate models suggest that ENSO neutral conditions will persist until June, July, August 2025 season with 62% likelihood. So pag sinabi nating mga models, ito ay mga models na pinapatakbo ng iba't ibang Met Agency na member ng World Meteorological Organization. And Pag-asa is one of the member of WMO. Kaya mayroon din tayong pinapatakbo. Kaya sa lahat ng models na pinatakbo with regards to ENSO, mayroon pong unanimous decision na ganito po yung ini-issue na information with regards to ENSO. No? Next. So ito naman po yung climate outlook natin. Ano? Kapag sinabi natin climate outlook, nandito yung mga rainfall forecast natin, temperature, yung mga extreme temperature natin, and of course, the tropical cyclone forecast, kung ano ba yung mga monthly numbers of tropical cyclone with from April to September. And bago ko ituloy, ito po yung mga weather system naman na pwedeng makaapekto dito sa ating bansa, no? Buong Pilipinas po ito, no? Not only the Cordillera, from April to September 2025. At dito, nandyan pa rin po yung Northeast Monsoon, ano? For the past days, nakikita pa rin natin si Northeast Monsoon, ano? Kasi ang pag-asa mostly tiniterminate ito ng third week ng March, ano? But right now, sumusulpot pa rin si Northeast Monsoon, kaya hindi pa po namin ma-terminate itong si Northeast Monsoon, kaya hindi pa natin ma-declare yung dry season, ano? Because of the presence of the El Niño, the Northeast Monsoon. But today, mayroon pong weather system tayo na wala na naman siya, no? Kapag magtuloy-tuloy ito, baka tuluyan na tayo ay terminated na yung Northeast Monsoon. And successive, magdi-declare na rin ng pag-asa na we are in the dry season. No? Andyan din yung mga shear line natin, mga frontal system, low pressure area, tropical cyclones, localized thunderstorm, easterlies, ridge of high pressure area, intertropical converging zone, and then yan, yung southwest monsoon na naman natin, ano? Na kung saan, kapag natapos na naman yung dry season natin, pupunta na naman tayo doon sa southwest monsoon. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng southwest monsoon? Papasok na naman po tayo doon sa rainy season. No? So, yan po yung mga in-expect natin na mararamdaman for the months of April to September 2025. Next. Ito naman po yung ating mga rainfall forecast. Ano? Kung aware tayo sa mga color coding, ano, kapag makikita natin red, yellow, green, blue, and dark blue, ano, ang ibig sabihin daw po ng red ay way below normal na in-expect nating rainfall, ano. And then pag yellow, below normal, ano. Pag green, near normal or normal, ano. Pag blue, above normal. And then yung dark blue, way above normal. So may mga kundi tayo, no. May mga numbers din tayo or percentage kung bakit sinasabi nating way below normal, ano, o until up to way above normal. Kung papansinin po natin yung month of April, doon po sa may kaliwang map, yun po yung normal rainfall natin. Yan daw po yung ating ano. So pag April kasi malilit lang yung ina-expect yung mga nire-record nating rain, ano. And doon sa pangalawa, yun po yung forecast rainfall natin. So ibig sabihin, yung statistics natin from 1991 to 2020 na rainfall for the month of April, halos parehas lang, ano, yung forecast rainfall natin. Kaya nga yung percent of normal natin sa rainfall forecast, dito sa Cordillera, parang yellow and green, ano, some patches of green. Ibig sabihin, ang Cordillera daw po ay makaka-experience or may forecast na from below normal to near normal, ano. Pero mamaya papakita ko po yung mga numbers, ano. Ito kasi sa color coding muna, no. Next. Ito namang May, ano. Yan po, yung sa normal na sa kaliwang bahagi. Yung pangalawa, forecast rainfall natin. And then yung percent normal natin, almost lahat ng Cordillera provinces nasa blue one, ano? Ibig sabihin above normal daw po ang May. Next. Again, at June naman, ganun, ang forecast rainfall natin green and some patches of yellow, no? So below normal to near normal ang June. Next. July, medyo bumaba na naman po, ano? Halos yellow yung ating Cordillera doon sa mapa, doon sa percent of normal, ano. So ibig sabihin below normal, ano. Next. August, babalik po sa normal kasi puro green na. Halos buong Pilipinas po green yung kulay, ano, doon sa percent of normal. Next. September, ganun din po, ano. Parang lahat na ng parte ng Pilipinas nasa green but may mga patches na yellow, no. Okay, next. So ito na po yung yung numbers na ating ipinakita sa yung mga sa maps natin. Ito yung every provinces, Abra, Benguet, Ifugao, Kalinga, Apayao, Mountain Province. Dito po sa months of April, makikita natin yung percentage. So ang Benguet at Kalinga ay nasa near normal, which 79 or 80% of the normal rainfall ay marireceive daw po natin. Pagdating ng May, nandiyan na po, more than 100%, sometimes maabot pa po ng 160% forecast rainfall. Pagdating sa June, normal pa rin, pero yung Apayao, medyo below normal siya na mayroong 76.3%. Pagdating ng July, puro yelo, so ibig sabihin below normal yung rainfall natin for the month of July. Pagdating ng August, September, magiging normal na po. Pag sinabi nating way below normal, kasi may mga months kasi na mararaming ulan tayo. So, dito sa next slide, makikita natin yung amount of rainfall when it comes to millimeters. Andyan na po, Andyan. Pagdating ng April, yung Abra, Benguet at Ifugao, Kalinga, Apayao, Mountain Province, nandyan yung amount of rainfall in terms of millimeters. For example, yung Benguet, makaka-expect daw tayo ng 54.7 millimeters up to 97.5 millimeters. And then, ang kanyang average, 78.2 millimeters. And then, kung titingnan po natin, pagdating ng May, June, July, ang lalaki na, ng ulan natin. Pero doon sa representation na doon natin sa color coding, below normal yung ibang months. Pero pagdating sa collection, sa forecast collection, malalaki pala ito, At kung titingnan po natin sa Benguet, sa sa August, ang laki ng collection natin. Expected yung forecast collection natin na 689.6 millimeters. So pag ganyan ang numbers, medyo maulan nga ito, Malaking collection ito. So, hindi tayo pwedeng, hindi natin, mamimisinterpret kasi natin minsan kung percentage yung pag-uusapan, Pero kapag ipinakita natin itong mga millimeters, when it comes to rainfall, yan makikita natin kung gaano karami, at gaano kaliit yung mga rainfall natin. Next. Ito naman po yung dry day forecast. Ito naman, pag sinabi nating dry day forecast, pag ang ating observation ay less than 1 millimeter, siya daw po ay considered as dry. Pero kapag more than 1, na siya, reciprocal naman siya, doon sa rainy day naman siya pupunta. Itong sa kabilang data, ito po yung normal natin from 1991 to 2020. Andyan po yung normals natin from April, May, June, July, August, September. And then doon sa may kabila naman yung forecast naman natin. For example, yung Benguet po, ito daw April ay may normal tayong 19. Pero pagdating po sa forecast, 20. Ibig sabihin na tumaas ng isa yung dry day forecast natin. Paano natin i-compute doon sa ating rainy day? I-minus lang natin ito sa number of days ng April doon sa forecast sa dry day natin. Yun na po yung lalabas na rainy day. At kung papansinin po natin, pagdating na ng May, June, July, August, September, lumiliit yung ating dry day forecast. Ibig sabihin, dumadami po yung rainy days natin. Okay. Next. Ito naman po yung extreme forecast natin. Ang Cordillera kasi nasa mountainous areas, kaya doon po tayo doon po tayo magtingin sa mountainous Luzon. And Pag-asa have two observation sa temperature at maximum temperature and minimum temperature. Pag sinabi nating maximum temperature, yan po yung maximum temperature of the day, kung ano po yung may re-record natin. At itong maximum ay ino-observe natin from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Nandun po yung maximum temperature natin. Pag yung minimum temperature naman natin, ito po yung ino-observe naman natin from 11 p.m. or 11 the evening up to 6 o'clock in the morning. So yun po yung, nandun kasi yung mga pinakamababang temperatura. So yun po yung aming ina-announce, disseminate sa mga media practitioner, sa mga radio station na tumatawag sa office, yun po yung ating ibinabahagi or ibinibigay na informasyon pagdating sa maximum and minimum temperature. Kung titingnan po natin itong mountainous Luzon natin, so magre-range lang siya ng 25 to almost 29 lang. Ano? Unlike doon sa other provinces na talagang nakaka-monitor sila ng mga more than 30 degrees Celsius. At dito sa Baguio City, hindi pa po tayo for the past 10 years, hindi pa po tayo naka-record ng more than 30. Yung pinaka-mataas pa lang na na-record dito sa Baguio City for the past 10 years is 29, or 28.8 lang. Ang minimum, ganun din po, tayo po yung pinakamababa na temperatura. Noong 2023, nakapag-record po tayo ng 9.0 lang. Kasi ang history natin, mayroon po tayong 6.3 degrees Celsius na minimum temperature history. Pero nung 2023, 9, and then nung 2024, 9.8 yung pinakamababa. So, ayan po yung mga extreme temperatures forecast natin for the next 6 months up to September 2025. Next. Ito po yung ating tropical cyclone forecast. Every month. April, mayroon doon daw po tayong 0 or 1 na tropical cyclone na ibig sabihin, itong April natin pwedeng pwedeng mayroong isa na pumasok or mag-develop dito sa ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Pagdating po sa May, June, mayroon po ang pag-asa na 1 or 2 tropical cyclone that will enter or develop into our Philippine Area of Responsibility. Pagdating po ng July, August, September, 2 to 3 tropical cyclone, pwedeng mabuo or mag-develop sa ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. All in all, mayroon daw po tayong 8 to 14 tropical cyclones na inaasahan mula April hanggang September 2025. Okay, next. So ito po yung summary natin. Recent observations indicate a cool, INSO-neutral condition with below to near average sea surface temperature anomalies across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific. And most climate models suggest that El Niño Southern Oscillation neutral conditions will persist until June, July, August 2025 season with 62% likelihood. At ito naman po yung ating rainfall outlook. April, near to below normal in Luzon and Visayas, with some patches of way below normal in Luzon. Generally, near normal in Mindanao. And May, above to way above normal rainfall conditions in most parts of the countries, except for near normal rainfall conditions in Davao and Cotabato. And June to September, near to below normal conditions. Next. Ito na naman po yung temperature outlook natin. Most parts of the Philippines are expected to experience warmer than average surface temperatures, with several areas showing way warmer than average, more than 2 degrees Celsius, particularly in Luzon and Visayas. Some areas in Mindanao and parts of Western Luzon may experience near average to slightly cooler condition, but overall, a warming trend is dominant across the country. And again, the tropical cyclone frequency, we are 8 to 14 tropical cyclone will likely develop or enter in our Philippine Area of Responsibility during the forecast periods of April to September 2025. Next. So again, Pag-asa will continue to monitor the El Niño Southern Oscillation conditions, and updates advisories shall be issued as appropriate. And this is our tentative schedule for the next Climate Forum, the 183rd Climate Forum, April 23, 2025. Next. So again, ito po yung ating website, pag-asa.dost.gov.ph. We have also the Facebook platform at DOST_Pag-asa, the Twitter at DOST_Pag-asa. We have also the YouTube at DOST_Pag-asa. And nandyan din po yung mga trunk lines natin na pwede niyong tawagan. Muli, maraming salamat sa inyo pong lahat.
Ayan. Maraming salamat po, Engineer Hilario Esperanza. Ano po, napaka-informative ng mga data po na na-present niyo sa amin, especially sa weather forecast. Napaka-importante po ng impormasyon na ibinibigay ng pag-asa sa atin para makapag-prepare tayo or kung ano mga dapat natin gawin sa mga susunod na araw. Kunyari sa mamay umaga, kung kailangan ba natin ng makapal na jacket dahil masyadong malamig. And of course, during rainy seasons. Maraming salamat po, Engineer Hilario Esperanza from Pag-asa. And dumako naman po tayo sa mga beneficiaries and mga cooperators ng DOST. Sila po ang mga nag-avail sa mga iba't ibang projects and programs ng DOST Cordillera. We have on our right side, unahin po natin siguro si Baguio Benguet Dulces Chocolate on Ma'am Eva Richel Padua. Baka pwedeng i-share nyo po kung ano ang inyong project or program and kung paano po ito naka-apekto sa pamumuhay ninyo po or dun sa proyekto ninyo po.
Good morning po ulit. Meron po kaming grant under sa WH-WISE, DOSTP Shared, worth 4.7 million. Ang project po namin is para matrain yung mga cacao farmers and the processors natin, hindi lang sa Benguet, but the whole Cordillera. Napakalaki po ng impact nito dahil yung mga tableya processors natin, nagpa-process na din po sila ng chocolates. And last po, ang cacao processors lang natin sa Cordillera, we only have 40 cacao processors, but then nung ginather ko po yung data, meron na tayong 58 cacao processors. Hindi na lang po tableya, karamihan na po sa kanila nagpa-process ng chocolates. And yung mga cacao farmers naman po natin, tumaas na po yung yield ng harvest nila. Yun po kasi yung isang problem natin. We have a lot of cacao farmers, but then the problem is hindi tayo nakaka-harvest ng marami. And hindi sila marunong kung papaano ang proper cacao farm maintenance at yung tamang pag-ferment ng cacao. But then with the help of our project sa DOSTP Shared, natulungan po natin sila na matrain, na-equip po natin sila, hindi lang cacao farmers and cacao processors. And of course, sa part naman po ng Dulce, nag-innovate na po yung mga packaging po natin. Ayun po, yung samples po natin. The packaging is under our project po sa WH-WISE. Nagkaroon na din po tayo ng mas malaking mga equipments. Mas dumami na po yung production po natin. Yan po.
Ayan, palakpakan po natin si Ma'am Eva Richel Padua kasi napakaganda po ng impact ng proyekto sa inyo dahil hindi lang po kayo ang natulungan. Parang na-push din po ang mga cacao processors to produce cacao. Tama po, Ma'am?
Yes, sir. Actually, yung target po natin sa project is makapag-training tayo ng 200 cacao farmers. But then, na-hit po natin yung target, mas mataas pa po, nasa 500 plus po. 520 yung na-train po nating cacao farmers. And supposedly po, Benguet lang yung target. Pero dahil may budget pa po tayo, nag-expand tayo sa Cordillera.
Ayan, napakaganda ma'am ng layunin ninyo po. And we hope na in the future, Cordillera will be the leading cacao producer or mga tableya, mga chocolate producer in the country. Ayan, that's the hope.
Siguro po sa quality, doon po
Alright.
tayo makikikompete kasi mas malawak po talaga ang Davao when it comes to cacao production.
Ayan. May kikikumpit ang Cordillera. Ayan. Thank you so much, ma'am, ulit. Ayan, at dahil dyan, we also hear a statement mula po kay Ma'am Nieves Bukling, Ibus Food Products owner po.
Okay, isa din po akong naka-avail sa setup ng DOST. Isa po akong OFW for like more than 20 years. So, nag-umpisa ako sa isang maliit na oven. At nung nag-umpisa ako, hindi kami natutulog sa buong magdamag dahil sa order. So, nagpasalamat ako dahil nalaman ko itong program ng DOST. So, at least naka-avail ako at naibigay nila yung baking equipments ko from Tredec na oven. At actually, amounting yun ng almost 500,000. Almost. Let me go to my 400 79, let me see, what's that? Okay. Almost 500,000 yung na-avail ko sa DOST. So now, I'm looking forward na mag-supply ako sa department stores, supermarkets, sa frozen na kanyang version. Actually, meron din tayong sample dyan. Pati yung packaging din po. Packaging at saka yung laboratories. Yun lang po.
Ay,
Actually, ano siya, yung product ko po is Ibos Bingko is a muffin siya, traditional kakanin siya, pero with ano yon? Muffin siya na out of glutinous rice, hindi siya harina. At doon ang pagkakaiba ng aking product. Thank you po.
ayan. So maganda po ang na-avail ni ma'am kasi aside from the equipment na na-provide sa inyo, pati po dun sa labeling, sa packaging and everything. So maganda po na sa ngayon ba ma'am, hindi na kayo buong magdamag na nagbe-bake. Ayan. So yun sa magandang ano and na mas napapabilis pa po ang production ninyo, tama. Ayan. All right. So maybe ang ating mga media practitioners mamaya, they could also ask questions siguro later. And let us now move ano po sa Sunshare, sorry. We have Sir Michael James Dios, co-investigator ng Sunshare. Baka pwedeng i-share niyo po kung ano ang Sunshare and how did you avail yung programa ng DOST?
Okay, so good morning. So the project Sunshare, actually, University of the Cordilleras is the implementing agency. And kaya sa Sunshare is that there is this isang entity na meron na siyang solar panel, then i-share namin sa mga kapitbahay, kumbaga. And the way that we are technology is yung project namin is yun po yung showcase namin, the trading of energy using blockchain technology, which is yung blockchain technology increases transparency, advanced security, and true traceability. Yan. So, through DOST, naka-avail kami ng, to be exact, 3.991,120 million. So, it includes the development nung system. So, meron kasi siyang software and at the same time, yung hardware. So, we all know medyo mahal pa yung solar power natin. So, which includes solar panels, inverters, batteries. So, yung proof of concept po namin is nasa UC Legarda. So, if you are interested, you can come and visit. Pwede namin ipakita sa inyo yung system namin. And at the same time, yung trading, ang ginawa namin is instead of other entity, ang ginawa na lang namin is per floor nung Legarda campus namin. So, ayun lang po.
Ayan. So, kumusta naman po ang buhay ng mga estudyante natin doon after, kung ano po naging impact niya doon sa, with the project po?
So, ngayon, yan, madalas ang brownout pa rin. So, ayan, actually, sa Legarda campus, na-utilize actually yung model namin. Na-utilize yung solar power. And ayun lang, wala akong data ngayon to show na may reduction nung sa power consumption dun sa Legarda. Ayan po.
Ayun. Thank you so much po, Sir Michael James Dios. And with that, we move also to the Marketing Officer of IOL Incorporated, Mr. Kurt Lee Gayaw. Yes, sir.
So thank you and good morning to everyone. So just to give you an idea of what our project is. So yung project po namin was the Advanced Robust Cooperative System. in short po, ARCS. So this is a software as a service na platform developed by our company to support yung Philippine cooperatives po natin in managing yung regulatory compliance po nila. So how it came about was that we applied for a startup grant fund from DOSTP Shared amounting to almost 3 million. So sabihin na natin mga 2, yung nakasulat ko po kasi dito is 2,999,990 pesos yung nakuha po namin na grant from DOST Shared. Anyways, so what came about dun sa project po namin was that we did our study, our needs analysis. It turns out that most cooperatives are struggling with regulatory compliance and membership management. So yung ginawa po namin dun sa system was to address that, and then nag-develop po kami ng software as a service na system wherein meron po kaming 66 features across 9 different user roles po. And then we tested this project to this system to 12 cooperatives po dito sa CAR, and we partnered with CDA po to help us look for possible candidates to give us feedback and how we can make the system better. So from that original 1 year, na-extend pa po kami ng mga 3 months. So naging 15 months po siya. And then from there, we try to improve the features and enhance the features para po ma-address po yung mga suggestions po ng cooperatives natin. Other than that po, we applied for IP protection for ARCS. So the ARCS brand and the ARCS name, thanks to DOST na protektahan po namin yung paggamit po nung IP na yon. And then with the funding as well, we were able to optimize our infrastructure, make a mobile app, and was able to create a cost profiling model where we try to make a offer that is sustainable for the business and for cooperatives. So our key outputs here was that we published a study, we have patents and IPs, the product itself, and we were able to hire developers and train over 500 cooperative members, conducted demos to different cooperatives in the country, and done some webinars. We were also able to partner with UCANS and Allcare for its implementation, and also CDA CAR for implementing this project. And we were able to provide some policy recommendations to CDA based on the pilot implementation feedback. So yung impact po ng project namin, we were able to strengthen the digital transformation of cooperatives and encourage resilience and efficiency, and improve the data-driven decision-making and regulatory compliance, contributing to cooperative sector growth. So ARCS was positioned to be a comprehensive, scalable, and sustainable digital platform in the Philippines. And the project result not only validated the system's capabilities, but also laid the groundwork for continued growth, partnership, and contributions to the country's cooperative center. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I bring the mic to you po, sir.
Ayan, thank you so much again, Mr. Currently Gayaw. And nakikita po natin na itong mga programs and projects ng DOST, hindi lang iisa yung nag-benefit. Nag-i-include din ang ating mga communities, mga students, and of course, ibang mga tao din. Ayan. And we finally have, of course, the Philippine Science High School. And for that, we have Dr. Edward Albarracin, the campus director, and Dr. Ronely Orteza, the Executive Director of the Philippine Science High Cordillera. And you now take the floor for your report.
Hello. Okay. Thank you po for inviting us. I would like to, in behalf of the PSHS system, with me is our Executive Director, Dr. Ronally Orteza. Ma'am Nancy, maraming salamat po sa pag-imbita sa amin and sa mga media partners natin dito. Good morning. We also have with us two of our students, Ms. Elise Gasatan and Dylan Afang. So before we begin our report, we would like to show po itong video presentation for us to appreciate po yung context and background ng Philippine Science High School in the Cordillera Administrative Region.
Garci through the years. The Philippine Science High School Cordillera Administrative scholarship basis, emphasizing subjects that would prepare its students for a science career. Pursuant to Republic Acts 3661 and 8496 as the PSHS system law, and as amended by RA 9036, the school is the 13th campus among campuses of the system that operates under the authority of the Department of Science and Technology. The PSHS curriculum on education focuses on science and mathematics, which greatly contribute to our nation building. As part of the PSHS system, Bisaya Garci advocates the following philosophies. The first being that the main purpose of the Bisaya education is the integral development of its scholars. This stems from the belief that each PSHS scholar has a unique giftedness and potential, which should be recognized and nurtured so that each one develops to the fullest extent possible. This is done through the PSHS Special Science Curriculum, which engenders our scholars a passion for learning and inspires them to choose careers in science and technology, which would then contribute to national development. This is also supported by an environment characterized by all-around performance of excellence, a dynamic and collaborative leadership, outstanding facilities, resources and support alliances, and an unswerving commitment of service to the nation and to one another. The campus commenced its operation in June 2009. It initially catered to 66 gifted and intellectually oriented young scientists and mathematicians under the guidance of 14 personnel and the then officer in charge, Dr. Pedrito G. Padilla. Dr. Padilla at the time was the campus director of the Eastern Visayas campus. During its humble beginnings, PSHS Garci was originally housed in a building owned by the Baguio City National High School, San Vicente Annex, and San Vicente, Baguio City. Eventually, a permanent site in Purok 12, Upper Irisan, Baguio City, was approved by the virtue of the use of front agreement between the Department of Education and the Department of Science and Technology on December 19, 2011. While the construction of the academic building started in the middle of the fiscal year 2012, the dormitory building followed thereafter. Both buildings were occupied for the first time during the school year 2013 to 2014, and up until now, student scholars occupy the building as their second home. The first official director of the campus was Dr. Conrado C. Ruto. He assumed his office in July 2010 and ended his 12 years of service last June 30, 2022. During the pandemic, the campus transitioned to full online learning in compliance with the national health protocols. In school year 2021 and 2022, the campus resumed limited face-to-face classes with the graduating batch. In the school year 2022 to 2023, face-to-face classes have already started. While waiting for Dr. Rotor's successor, Dr. Joname B. Agyamok was designated as the officer in charge for Pisay Carsi. He served for 2 months, starting in July the 1st and ending on September 2, 2022. During this transition period, challenges and changes were observed. And through the help, initiative, and efforts of the personnel of PSHS Carsi, we overcame the difficulties and changes are now being implemented bit by bit. Come September 5, 2022, the investiture of our second campus director took place in the Baguio Convention Center. The scholars, teachers, and staff warmly welcomed Director Edward C. Almaraz. And in his speech, he highlighted the PSHS scholars are for God and country, an inspiration which warmed the hearts of every individual who was present in the ceremony. To date, after 14 years of operations, 610 students have graduated from the campus. Some alumni have become board examination top-notchers, and others have even returned to the campus to serve as teachers. The campus has a current plantilla of 89 items as approved by the Department of Budget and Management. The progress and development of the school, the teachers, the staff, and the scholars have created a big impact, not only in our institution, but also to the community that we belong in. May we all look forward to a greater and better PSHS Carsi. Pisay Carsi through.
Okay. Thank you po. So to proceed with our report, first I would like to give this floor to our Executive Director, Dr. Ortesa.
Thank you very much, Sir Edward. So, naimbag nga bigat tayo amin na po. And thank you very much for this opportunity for Kapihan sa Bagong Pilipinas. So, we are here to introduce to you what is Philippine Science High School System. It's actually an attached agency of the Department of Science and Technology. And we are operating as a system. And we have already 16 campuses. Pang 13 po ang Philippine Science High School Cordillera Administrative Region Campus na na-establish. So this time, we are about to complete the number of campuses for the whole Philippines at itatayo po hopefully by 2026 or 2027 ang ating Negros Island campus, and that will be the last. Pero may pending po na expansion bill ang Philippine Science High School, and hopefully it will be approved for third reading this coming June 2025. So, yun po ang latest development, and thank you very much po.
Ayan. Thank you so much din po, ma'am. And we also have students ano po, sa Pisay under the STEM Education and Experience. We have Elise J. Gasatan and Dylan Afwang. Ayan, can you say hi? Or maybe share your experience before getting into the Philippine Science High, and kumusta ang isang estudyante ng Pisay? And paano ito nakatulong sa inyo? Alright. Bato ba topic?
Ay, sige. First of all, good morning po. Good morning, everyone. Ako po si Elise J.F. Gasatan from Philippine Science High School, Car Campus, and I am a grade 11 student. And I am deeply grateful to share you my journey to Pisay. And not only has this shaped not only my academic growth, but also my passion towards research and innovation. When I entered Pisay, I initially saw research as somewhat of a stepping stone towards my career goal, that is STEM-oriented. But by 8th grade, I realized that it's not only about your career, but it's about to solve real-world problems that could help other people. And when the pandemic came, I actually got the experience to join the system-wide innovation camp, or the Kids Innovation Camp, wherein we used to pitch solutions in order to solve a specific problem. And although it was very challenging, it taught me how to be resilient, how to time manage, and how to balance tasks between my academics and extracurriculars. Flash forward to face-to-face classes. This was actually unexpected because we actually participated in an international research competition called ISTEC, wherein we garnered silver place, and then afterwards we also garnered a gold medal in the same competition for the second year. And despite everything, it's actually very inspiring for me because it is a milestone that I have brought upon my journey to Pisay. Because this study is actually the dye-synthesized solar panel cells, which utilizes local leaves, local Baguio leaves, to convert energy into electricity. And because of this, it opened me towards better opportunities such as Science Castle, Malaysia, and WISPO in Indonesia. And in addition to that, our research is also patented lately under the IP model of IPOPHIL. And now, it was all made by Pisay's unwavering support. Now, as a senior, research is deeply embedded in our Pisay's curriculum. So, not only does it focus on research itself, it also is embedded towards other subjects such as English, statistics, ATEC, and the like. And because of this, beyond the lab, Pisay has taught me that in that mindset, one that pushes us to ask, explore, and create. And to this day, I am very much grateful to my experiences because of Pisay. They've not only honed my skills, but also reinforces Pisay's core values, and that is integrity, excellence, and most especially, the service towards our own nation. Thank you.
Alright, palakpakan po natin. Napakaganda ng mga naging experiences niya with Pisay. And we also have si Dylan.
Hello po, magandang araw po. My name is Dylan Afwang, and I'm also a grade 11 student from Pisay Carsi. So, yung diniscuss po nung kasama ko po was more on the research basis, or yung mga ino-offer ng Pisay in terms of research. So, sa akin naman po, I want to talk about a little bit more about yung mga extracurriculars din ng Pisay. Because Pisay, as much as it's very STEM-focused, as much as it's a very science and mathematics-focused na school, there's also this partnership with humanities. So I want to discuss a little bit about that. So when it comes to yung opportunities that Pisay has given me so far in that aspect, I tend to recall kasi po yung time ko as an elementary kid kasi. Kasi noon po, I used to be a very, how do I say this? Yung typical po na honor roll student po. Yung very particular about yung grades, ganun. Pero during that time kasi po, I had this, parati ko kasi po napapansin yung mga iba kong kasama na that would always join these competitions, mga talumpati na ganun. Tapos parang naiingit na lang po kasi ako nun na kailan po ako? Parang yun po yung tinatanong ko nun na I want to be able to develop my skills in those aspects as well. So fast forward, pagkatapos ng elementarya, I was able to take yung Pisay NCE and I got the email na nakapasok ako. So that being said then, kasi again, as mentioned earlier, kapag inisip po natin yung Pisay, usually yun na pumasok sa isip natin is STEM education, science and mathematics. Although, that really is yung focus ng Pisay. STEM education is the focus and marami din po ako natutunan in terms of STEM in Pisay. As mentioned earlier, as sinabi ko po kanina, there's also that partnership with humanities which I have very much benefited from here in my experience po sa Pisay Carsi. So one such example po nung humanities aspect na po yun is my involvement po sa Model United Nations program of the PSHS system. So Pisay kasi, all of our each campus, all 16 campuses of the Pisay system, if I'm not mistaken, has a Model United Nations Club or a Model United Nations organization. And just to contextualize a bit more, yung Model UN is a simulation po of the actual United Nations where delegates are assigned yung sarili nilang mga bansa or their own country assignments on specific world issues. So because of this, I was able to really develop po yung aking public speaking, my public speaking abilities, as well as my abilities in lobbying issues such as climate change, poverty reduction, conflict, and mas madami pong sa ganun. While also being able to meet so many different people from not just the Pisay system and not just here in the Philippines, but I was also given the opportunity because of this to meet different people from around the world. So I'm very grateful for that as well. So speaking about yung public speaking as well, Pisay has also exposed me kasi po to several opportunities in that same field, such as oratory competitions sa Ilocos, which was naginanap last year as well, mga debate formats and research presentations and mga showcases. One example is ginaganap po right now sa Baguio Convention Center. And lastly, I suppose one very important opportunity that I hold very close to me that Pisay has also given to me was the opportunity to get a much bigger picture of yung bansa po natin. So, kasi personally po, my passion when I grow up is to get involved into public service. I want to be able to, again, it's also one of our core values of Pisay, service to the nation. But, yun nga po, just last week, I was able to participate in a STEM outreach activity in 2 elementary schools sa may Kalinga. So there I was able to meet a lot of different elementary students from grade 5 to grade 6. And I was able to, and nakita ko po firsthand yung buhay po nila dun at yung mga pangarap po nila ng mga mas bata nating pong kabataan. So dahil po dun, mas napalawak po yung aking perspective po. Not just dito po sa Pisay, but kundi sa buong Pilipinas na rin po. Tas, yun lang po. Minsan, hindi lang kasi po natin napapansin, pero yung buhay kasi po natin, pero buhay po ang ating kagustuhan, lahat na umunlad. At yun po yung napakita po sa akin ng Pisay. And nagpapasalamat po talaga po ako para doon. Yun lang po.
Ayan. So palakpakan po natin si Ms. Elise and si Dylan. I mean, listening to how they respond to the question, it only shows that Pisay is way above, if I may say. And I'm so excited sa future ng dalawang batang ito. And parang I want to go back to high school and take Pisay. Ayan. And napaka-exciting ng mga naging experiences nila. And with that, may mga additional pa po ba sa ating Pisay?
Yes, sir. So, narinig po natin ang statements ni Elise and Dylan. So, Philippine Science High School is actually a school for the students with high aptitude in science and mathematics po. So, we are inviting yung mga grade 5 pupils who would like to be part of Philippine Science High School. Narinig nyo po, bago po sila pumasok sa Philippine Science, there is a competitive exam, the National Competitive Exam, na ginaganap po, and this will include 4 types